It's the Buzz Williams Show from Rudy's 504 Harvey Road here in College Station. Good to see everyone again. Appreciate you being out here. I wore the black in honor of the women. They're blacking it out at Reed Arena. We are whiting it out tomorrow when the Aggies take on Arkansas, 6 o'clock, 5:30 with our Dos Equis tip-off show. To get the Buzz Williams Show started, you know I get a chance to talk with Buzz before every game, and there was something that he talked about. He talks about spirits of this team, and couldn't use all of it, and it was just too good not to share. So I want to tip off tonight's Buzz Williams Show with Buzz talking about spirits.
It's a result-oriented business. I completely understand, but everything that I think that we do is based on your spirit, and everybody defines spirit in a different way. I never make our guys tell me their definition of spirit, but the longer you've been here, the more I think their definition bends towards what they know, I believe, spirit is. Henry's spirit at Missouri, he's back. And I'm telling him, Henry, when your spirit is in the right place, you're the best communicator in college basketball. And when your spirit's in the right place, you become the best communicator in college basketball, which makes your feet move faster because you want your body to match what your words are saying. So now your spirit's right, and because your spirit's right, you talk louder and more. And because you're talking louder and more, your feet move faster. And because you're talking, it makes someone else on your team that you're playing with, they have to respond to that fragmented sentence that you're saying. So when your spirit is right, our team is probably 4 to 6% better on that particular possession. And he was like, Coach, that's right. And I go, yeah. So everybody's going to say you hadn't scored. Everybody's going to say you hadn't rebounded. Some people are going to say it's because of what your injury was. But what I'm saying is I'm just focused on your spirit. So how can I help you protect your spirit? How do you protect your spirit? What your ears hear, what your mouth says, what your eyes see. We got to protect your spirit because your spirit helps you. But when your spirit is right, it actually helps us. And 4 has a tremendous spirit. Quentin Jackson's spirit is a magnet of great force. Solo's spirit is bending like in a wise, mature, you're saying I can still have that passion and that energy, but I can direct it in a more mature way, in a more wise way. So I hope we win, and it'd be great. But spirit, which is an intangible, Jace's spirit, when you look at him, you're like, oh, man, I'll fight with you. When Mo's in a groove the way he was against Florida, you're like, oh, yeah, I can see your brain, man. Yeah, we're good. At Missouri, sub him in, and they go on a 7-0 run. It's not exclusively him, but his spirit's out of sorts. Everything's spirit. It's spirit. Gep, is he a good strength coach? I don't know, but I love his spirit because his spirit is the same every day. So when he's with me, it's the same spirit. Now I know that's the spirit that is infecting our players. And the consistency of that spirit, I think, is what we rely on.
That is Buzz Williams, and that was something that he talked about with the Manhattans playing in the background, Shining Star. So just give you a little clue. When they shoot, the end of shoot-around, Spotify is on. It's usually something Motown. So Dr. Thornton and I we can recognize what's going on. And sometimes I just like listening in the background as well. But it's something that Buzz Williams talked about before one of those games, and something that I just had to share on this Buzz Williams Show. Much more to come from Rudy's 504 Harvey Road here in College Station. It is the Buzz Williams Show, and this is Aggie basketball from Learfield. Texas Farm Bureau Insurance wants to give you a VIP Aggie basketball fan experience this year. Go to 12thman.com/maroon contest and register. One winner and a guest will receive game tickets, a VIP tour of Reed Arena, and will be recognized on the board during the game. Register today. 12thman.com/maroon contest. Texas Farm Bureau Insurance is a proud partner of Texas A&M Athletics. So I played the Spirit Bite because that was one that I didn't get to run in its entirety. Now what's happened is people are now listening on the pregame and saying, hey, will you rerun what Buzz said on the pregame? And there was a couple people came up to me, Buzz, and they said, would you play this on the next show? Now that I'm taking requests. This is Buzz Williams. It starts on Broken Record.
When it'll happen. Corey says it'll never happen, so I should include that. But at some point, I do think it will happen. When I become a fan, I'm going to enjoy it. Because if I was a fan, I would enjoy the storylines, the narratives, this is a big game. And I told the kids a while ago in our shoot-around meeting, I go, guys, I know it sounds like a broken record, but I think if you're doing well, the team that plays the broken record the best wins. Didn't I say this against Missouri? Yeah. Okay, well, that's what old people say a broken record is. In other words, hey, man, you're still saying the same thing. So if we're still saying the same thing, that means we're doing something that's still meaningful, and what we've been telling you still applies. But because this game is, quote, bigger than the last one, it applies even more. But I just can't figure out different words to make you realize it's really the same thing. I mean, I do on steroids as a context to this conversation. On heroin, I know I shouldn't say either. And then on amphetamines. Then I gave them a new one about in mid-January on hallucinogens. And they look at me, they're like, Coach, what's that word? I go, I was just Googling anything to make you guys go, uh-oh, it wasn't steroids, it wasn't heroin. Yeah, it's like, yeah, it's a big game. It's Saturday night, it's prime time, it's ESPN, not a different network, the original network, the one that started it. And we're grateful, we're excited.
See, now I'm getting requests because of things you say, but the message is there.
The request should be for the song that was playing in the background.
Yeah, Baby Come Back.
Baby Come Back. And we'll go ahead and make a bet since that's illegal in the NCAA. I will bet you do not know the name of the band.
Baby Come Back is Player.
Wow! Nice, Monaco. My respect for you just went up.
See,
and how do you spell player?
Is it not Player?
I was just wondering.
Okay.
And then approximately how old were you when you think that song was released?
Oh, that had to be – that's part of yacht rock in the 70s. So, Buzz, yep. I'm a teen at that time. Yeah.
That was 1977. I was 5. I was in kindergarten.
77?
1977.
Yeah.
On your Friday afternoon commute on KVIL FM 103.7. Baby Come Back.
That was the time when, like, Pablo Cruz
yep.
was all that.
I could talk about some of that stuff a lot better than I can after the week we just had. Not that I'm trying to throw you off the scent.
No. Look, as I have told you this time and time again, it says it's the Buzz Williams Show. Doesn't say that. I have my own podcast. I can talk with
whatever. I need to listen to that.
I need to have you on. Is what I need to do.
Thanks for asking. I was wondering how many episodes have you had?
20-something.
Well, this is the first time I've been invited, so that speaks to where the basketball coach at A&M ranks.
Yeah, but you know who? I don't know if I'm gonna dig deeper or not. You know who my first one was? Vern Lundquist.
Oh yeah, he was on WFAA TV, Channel 8 in Dallas in 1977 when I was 5. He was replaced by Del Hansen when Vern Lundquist went full-time to CBS. I don't watch TV anymore and haven't for a long time, but I'm fairly certain that Dale Hansen may still be on Channel 8, or he just retired since I've lived here.
He made a lot of money, is what he made.
Dale Hansen?
Uh-huh. When you stay that long, that's one of the reasons why they start changing people on TV. They get a little too expensive.
Oh.
That's like Shireen Williams. She was also in my podcast. She was talking about when she was working at the Star-Telegram up in Fort Worth, and they covered all the high schools up there, and they covered all the colleges. Like, that was such an outstanding sports. But when you get too expensive, Buzz, it's like, you know what? Let's do something cheaper. So it's a
that
harsh
happens
reality.
to coaches too.
yeah, it does. Yeah,
Media and coaches are in the same.
Sometimes you don't get all those years.
Well, it's coaches for sure don't. What was his name is Randy, and he started doing radio, but in 1977 he wrote for the Dallas Morning News. Randy Galloway, and then by the time I was a teenager, the Fort Worth Star-Telegram paid him more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then again,
is he still
they cut him, and he's
a writer?
I don't know how much more. I don't know how much more he writes. He kind of would go back and forth with radio or always be on, but he became almost like, you know how juvenile it can get, some sports talk, stuff like that.
Very familiar. That's why I don't.
That's why you don't listen
to
it any longer.
Listen.
But when you brought Randy Galloway on, that all went away.
Yeah.
So he was like the elder statesman type thing for that, which is a good. I promise we're going to talk basketball when we come back. It's the Buzz Williams Show. We're at Rudy's, 504 Harvey Road here in College Station. We're off to a great start. Stay with us. This is Aggie basketball from Learfield. All Hands Craft Cocktails is a new bar-strength canned cocktail. It's made with 6 times distilled vodka and 10% ABV to make sure you never have to sacrifice the quality of your drink. All Hands Craft Cocktails, founded by Aggies and a proud partner of Texas A&M Athletics. Here at Rudy's for the Buzz Williams Show, and Leroy has brought some of the nurses here. And our first question, nursing students are like basketball players in the sense that we both have to perform in high-stress situations. What advice do you give to your players that would also apply to us nurses?
Well, that's nice of you. I don't know much about your field, and I say this respectfully, but what you guys are doing is much more important than what we're doing. We think it's high stress. Sometimes I would assume nurses are at the front end or the middle or the back end of life or death situations. This is important to all of us. It's not life or death. The one thing that I would say on this, though, relative to high-stress situations is the only way you can become accustomed to high-stress situations is you have to put yourself in those situations as often, as daily as possible, so that when it is a true high-stress situation, you've already created that so many times that your comfort is not high stress. You're comfortable in what is uncomfortable. If the only time you feel or sense high-stress situations is when it actually happens, then you can only accumulate reps of those high-stress situations when it happens, and you're hoping that in those situations everything will go good, and you won't get enough reps. So your reputation is, we say, your rep is through your reps. So relative to your reputation in high-stress situations, you need as many repetitions of that as possible. And so you have to create that in practice, so to say. I think in medical terms it's practicum, maybe. I think that means for normal people practice. So that would be my advice, if that makes sense.
It's great advice. And it's interesting. You have coached players who want to be on the floor at that time. I'm sure you've coached some players, Buzz, you knew that could not be on the floor at that time.
Yeah, and I think even now, so we're 6-5 in quad one games. We have won more quad one games than all but 4 teams in Division I. 11 is the second highest number of Quad 1 games in the country, regardless of won or loss. We've lost 3 Quad 3 games. We lost at the buzzer by 1 to Arkansas. We lost at the buzzer last week to Vanderbilt. And we lost at home to LSU. Last night, Memphis lost to SMU, and the Memphis loss, they became a Quad 3 loss. And that's because they lost their best player to a knee injury, similar to what happened to our women's team. Mm-hmm. So teams change, their success and their failure. I told our team this before we beat Florida. Guys, we're 3-4. And if this is the worst situation we've been in, then we hadn't been in many bad situations. And so sometimes you may be in a bad situation to see how you handle it so you can learn from it. And if we think that 3-4 is going to be the most difficult situation we're going to be in an 18-game schedule, then we're foolish. And obviously you know how that game ended. Mm-hmm. And now here we are, in essence, 3 weeks later, and a lot of good things have happened, but also a lot of hard things have happened. And so now 33% of the conference season remains, and we're 6-6. And 3 are at home and 3 are on the road. And if Selection Sunday was yesterday, we're in the tournament. But Selection Sunday is not yesterday. Right. And so we have, as of today, we have 20 days of work left. We'll play 2 games a week. Weekdays will be at home. Weekends will be on the road. Some of them will be Quad 1 games. Some of them will be Quad 2. Some of them will be Quad 3. But I think anytime you're in a position of leadership, somehow you have to figure out how to lead from a place of uncomfort, because sometimes those that you're leading have never been in the scenario or in the situation that they're in, and everybody processes high stress in a different way. And so how can you communicate and help those who are in an uncomfortable situation to learn and to grow, to be able to handle those high stress situations in a better way, because they're going to be in more as a competitor, but they're also going to be in more throughout their life.
You talked earlier in the season, you'd have the comeback against Iowa State, and you said the comeback is great. We have to learn not to fall behind by 21.
Yep.
You look at Vanderbilt, tough loss. It hurts. But you can't ignore the fact that you shot over 50%. You made all of your free throws. How do you balance, Buzz, as a coach? Hey, we still did some good things. We still have to be us, and we weren't totally us. You can't ignore it, nor can you ignore the warts and the flaws as well. Is it a matter of how you put it out there and how they receive it?
I think for sure it always has to do with what you give them, how you give it to them, when you give it to them, the tone of voice that you give it to them in. And I don't think that just hollering and screaming is always the right answer. I think sometimes they want to learn. And I also think that regardless of what the model is, good people want to be held to a standard. But good people want to be in a trustful relationship. Mm-hmm. And so whether it's wrong or right, as a coach, I just tell them the truth. And that's not to be condescending, but also it's not to be Pollyanna. Mm-hmm. We did do some good things. Our OER at Vanderbilt was as good as it's been all year long. Our DER was awful. We played the slowest team in Division I in Power 5 on Tuesday, and we played the fastest team in Division I on Saturday. It's the first time we had played back-to-back road games. It's the first time we had lost back-to-back road games. And that's part of it. We were 6-4 a week ago at this time, and now we're 6-6. And to your point on Florida, beat Vanderbilt, beat Arkansas. Oh, well, instead of 6-6, you're 8-4. Yeah, that's a lot different story. Or lose to Florida and lose to Kentucky, and now you're 4-8. That's a completely different story. So I think coaches that have been through it for a long time would always tell you there's going to be one or two that you probably shouldn't have won, and there's going to be one or two that you probably shouldn't have lost. But those will kind of cancel themselves out to some degree. It's the other ones. And so, however you want to say it, at the 67% mark, we're 6-6, and we're 4-2 at home, and we're 2-4 on the road. And 2 of those 4 losses were by 1 point on the road. And 2 of those home losses, one of them was 1 possession, and you were up 7 at the last ATO. So, don't mean this in the wrong way. I'm aware of all of it because I lived it. And I'm aware of all of it because I constantly replay it all on how can I help, how can I do more. The basketball coach at Texas A&M needs to do everything possible to win every single game. And so when you lose, whether the line said you were supposed to lose or win, when you care, and you care about the young adults and you care about the old adults, and you have great belief in who they are as humans, and you have great belief in who they are as competitors, you want to do everything that you can to help them be their best. Do I think that we have the best team? No. Do I think that we have the best coaches? No. Do I think I'm the best coach? Absolutely not. Do I think that we're the best team? Maybe.
Right.
Why? We don't have the best talent. We don't have the best strategy. All of the categories, I'm not saying we're even close to the top. But if you put it all together, I think how we go about it day after day after day, not because we're the smartest and not because we're the best, I think over time that compounds and it becomes a competitive advantage. It does not mean that you're going to go 15-3 and that you're going to be coach of the year. It does not mean you're going to make every shot. Like I showed our guys last night when we met. Guys, I wish we'd make a few more shots. We're 341st in field goal percentage. Man, I wish one of you guys would make a shot. Only talking about shooting, we're 341st. There's a lot of other things that go into offense. Don't turn it over, get fouled, get an offensive rebound, low turnover rate, et cetera, et cetera. Our offense, not our shooting, is ranked 34th in the country. And that includes that we're 341st in making shots. Hey, guys, thank you. I respect you. It means you're trying to do every single thing that we're asking you to do. Last year, we went 15-3. Our offense was ranked 34th.
The same.
The exact same.
Yeah.
That's at the end of conference play. We're not at the end. And we shot the ball 3% better through 18 conference games. 3%. So I said to him, guys, we played 59 possessions at Vanderbilt. That's 2 turtles going down the road. That's how slow the game is. So 3% in that game, 1 more shot. Now, we were at the Indianapolis 500 in Alabama on Saturday. We may have to make 2 more shots for that to be 3%. Mm-hmm. So it's going into last week, we were 3rd in our defense. We were 1st in offensive rebound percentage. We were 1st in defensive rebound percentage. We fell to 4th after Alabama scored 18 threes on us and chased after a lot of offensive rebounds. So today we're 4th, and we're now 2nd in the SEC in defensive rebound percentage. But in the things that we emphasize, in the things that we practice, in the things that we coach, we practice making shots too. But in some of the things that we can control, our guys are giving their absolute best. Does that mean we're going to win another game? I don't know. But what I do know, Monaco, is I feel freedom in that I'm not doing it for the opinion of others. Mm-hmm. And I'm believing that if I give my best in trying to help everyone else give their best, and we try to do it in a very intense way while also being super transparent without sensitivity. We got beat guys at Vanderbilt. So I can holler and scream on Thursday after the day off on Wednesday, or I can teach you what I think hurt us to try to see if we can learn a lesson going into the next game. And I think that still applies over the next 20 days in regular season play. How many days are remaining after that, we don't know. But we can't give our energy and emotion to that today. We can give our energy and emotion to all of the things that we think matter tomorrow night at 6. And before we play the game at 6, what can we do tomorrow at shoot-around that maybe moves us 3% better in some category, including making a shot? And so, however it plays out, I want to give my best, and I want to help our group give their best, and I want us to all stay on the same page. And that's the 3 words that are in our building. Love, true love, doesn't have an agenda. I'm not going to love our guys differently if they make a bunch of shots or miss a bunch of shots. The next word is trust. The only way you're going to learn to trust is through the 3rd word, in my opinion, and that's work. Mm-hmm. By nature, I'm a distrustful person. I shouldn't be, but in truth, I am. And we have a collection of guys that have stories that, for whatever reason, may be distrustful. But over time, when the standard is the example you set, not the standard you request in the words that you use, over time people begin to have trust because they know that you're going to be the same. If you win, you're the same. If you lose, you're the same. But every opportunity is an opportunity to learn in hopes that our whole theme, can we get better? Can we get better in every category of our life? And we're using ball as a microcosm. But I completely understand that they fire coaches in season, out of season, at Texas A&M, at Ohio State. Regardless of sport, I understand all of it. And I'm probably more aware than anybody gives me credit for because I'm the only coach in the country at this level in any sport that doesn't have an agent. I get all of it. I get all of it. And so I think how you handle things is just be as upfront and truthful and trustful as you can be.
More of the Buzz Williams Show from Rudy's, 504 Harvey Road here in College Station. This is Aggie basketball from Learfield. Howdy, Aggs. Andrew Monaco here, inviting you all to visit Costa Vida Fresh Mexican Grill. Baja-style Mexican, made from scratch daily, serving breakfast tacos, lunch, and dinner, Aggie-owned and operated. That's our friend Holly in South College Station. We continue with the Buzz Williams Show from Rudy's, 504 Harvey Road here in College Station. Before I ask this question from Ian Curtis, it should be pointed out that Ian won the free throw shooting contest. Was it the Tennessee game? Well,
he did.
He was shooting at the bucket in front of our bench. And he walked away with a win. We didn't have the coaches show.
There's a lot of good
Monday.
stuff that happens during ATOs that I'm.
You don't get a chance to see it.
Our friend that made the half-court shot.
Yeah, Liz.
Yeah. From Kerrville.
Mm-hmm.
Ian, I'm assuming he's from College Station. You guys are getting a lot of stuff done during timeouts.
That's what you said. We started the show, Buzz. When you're a fan, you're going to be able to enjoy all of that. You're going to be able to walk away. You're going to be undefeated as a fan. You're not going to have to take it home with you. You get to leave it in the seat and just walk out.
And then I can, tweet and get on message boards and, whatever fans do, I'm doing all of it. Tailgate.
Ooh, yeah.
I'm buying all the gear.
Yeah.
I'm just going to go around. Go there the day before the game, and go to the their version of Aggieland Outfitters, buy all the
Get stuff.
and then just have hot dogs and hamburgers and queso, and then just be a fan.
Are you going to ask?
Holler and scream at the coaches, the officials, the players, all of it.
You going to ask Coach Elko if you can go to an SEC road? You want to go to an SEC road game,
I've never been
right?
to a SEC road game.
Yeah. Hey, did you see his first pitch Friday before baseball?
No, how'd he do?
Strike.
He did?
Top of the mound. Yeah. Strike. Yeah.
I like him just because he went to the top of the mound.
That's exactly right.
Whether he threw a strike or not, it lets you know his mentality.
Yeah. So Schloss wants to know, does he get to do at least the coin flip for football, and can he shoot a free throw for basketball?
I told Coach he can just sit on the bench with us. He can do whatever he wants. Come in the locker room, do pregame, halftime, call timeout if he wants. I seem to have a problem calling timeout, according to a lot of people. So I'll just, hey, this guy's our timeout coordinator, that guy right there. Don't they have a timeout coordinator in some sport?
I mean, that's
the person that does it on the –
Yeah, which is interesting because Schloss just told us he doesn't like to use his – there's an offensive timeout in baseball, of all things. He doesn't like using them. It's named after a coach in the SEC. I'm not going to say it, but he doesn't like to use it. He thinks it's superfluous is what it is. But I think that would be interesting that he would be your timeout coordinator.
Well, I'm not doing good in 23-24 at calling timeout, so I need some help.
Did you get in any kind of trouble for being on the floor for the timeout? Considering about a couple weeks earlier, Buzz, they never saw or heard your timeout or Wade's timeout in that game. That was the first thing I said. Right or wrong, at some point it's on the officials to know. Because you kind of keep the conversation. You'd like to keep a conversation with the three officials. And I'm not doing this to try to get you in trouble.
Yeah, I've been a coach for 17 years, and I've never said anything ill towards any other coach publicly. I'm not going to start now. I was caught off guard by some of the things that have been brought to my attention. I'm literally not on the I do go to the ESPN app because I like keeping up with scores.
Yeah.
I do check Ken Palm. Mm-hmm. And so because I'm not very technologically sound, I just type in K because Josh has programmed it on my phone and the password's already in there.
Yeah.
So I look at Ken Palm to study all the numbers. I do look at the ESPN app to see the scores. And then if I type in on my phone, the net rankings show up. And I do that in the mornings when I'm training with Gep to see what has changed. But I mean this sincerely, like Rock, Josh, Luke, occasionally Lau, Cal, hey, Corey. Hey, guys, if y'all see anything that you think I would want to know, should know, need to know, or would want to read, just text it to me, and then I just copy and paste it, and I send it to Cal. And Cal, on my table every day, I have like I read every newspaper that covers Power 5, and then there's a software that covers every NFL team. Mm-hmm. So I read those every day along with the articles. But I try to stay away from all that other stuff.
Yeah.
And on this subject, your point versus Ole Miss, yes, sir, I agree. Do I need to be running on the floor? No. Had I been trying to call timeout and it wasn't noticed? Yes. Is that a little overboard? Sure. But some of the things that have transpired, nobody asked me about it after the game.
Right.
And so, yeah, we need to try to win tomorrow.
Yeah. Against Arkansas, 6 o'clock the tip at Reed Arena. It's a whiteout at Reed Arena. And we'll all gather once again for another special time at Reed Arena in front of the Reed Rowdies in the 12th man. We've got one final segment of this Buzz Williams show. We return to Rudy's, 504 Harvey Road here in College Station. This is Aggie basketball from Learfield. Our final segment of the Buzz Williams show from Rudy's, 504 Harvey Road here in College Station. Again, tomorrow, Reed Arena, 6 o'clock is the tip. The Aggies and the Arkansas Razorbacks, second game of that mirror opponents. and then Tennessee on Saturday. And as Buzz mentioned, home games, road games, leads to the question by Steve for you, Buzz. Would you like to see more of that next season where you play one game home, one on the road every week? Or do you prefer being at home for the week or a couple of times on the road? Is there anything you prefer?
Yeah, I think some of it is just the algorithm that whoever the SEC hires for scheduling. And I think some of it may be a little different in that this year there's a 10-week season instead of a 9 because of the bye. And then there's some math involved, obviously, with the bye. When do teams get it? What's the window of time? I think it's after the 5th game. Maybe I think it's the 5th game, but before the 11th game, like Alabama, they were in their bye last week.
Yes.
So in other words, they didn't play last week until we played them. Every coach appreciates a bye. You can concentrate on yourself. If you're winning a bunch, you don't want to bye. If you have injuries, you need a bye. If you've been losing a bunch, you want to bye. So, you can't really control that. It's all TV to some degree. I do think there is some math on how many of your games on the weekends are at home, how many are on the road. I think each team gets 5 Saturday games at home. Is it good to be at home during the week? Is it good to be at home on a weekend because potentially more people come to the game? Is it better to have a 6 o'clock game when people can just drive straight from work? Or is it better to have an 8 o'clock game so that they can get something to eat after work and come to the game? Like, you can kind of spin it however you want. On the weekend, for me, I would prefer to play as early as possible just because I think our group wakes up earlier. When you're on the road, you want to play as early as possible. If you're playing the 8 o'clock game in Auburn, Alabama, the game's over at 10:30. By the time I'm done with you and media, it's 11:30. We're in the bus at midnight.
Yeah.
It's an hour and 15 minutes to the plane. So now it's 1:15. By the time they load their bags and get on, even though it's all private and everything is as efficient as possible, it's still 45 minutes to an hour. By the time you get on there and they do all of the things that they legally have to do, it's a 2-hour flight home. Then you land. We have buses, everything, escort, everything's as efficient. But even by the time you land, like Corey is a nervous flyer, and so she has an app. And so anytime I'm in the air, she watches everything, whether I'm with the team or individual. And, like, when I turn my phone on, she's already said, "I'm glad you made it back." And I'm like, I literally just hit the ground.
Yeah.
But she already knows. And I always text her when we land, I'm still an hour from home.
Right.
So when you play at 6 o'clock in Vanderbilt, you get home at 1. When you play at 8 o'clock, you get home at 3.
Yeah.
And so, there's different ways to look at it. We play tomorrow at 6, so that means shoot-around for us is at 11. We have shoot-around a little bit, a wider gap in between shoot-around and a game. When you're on the road, you can't really control when shoot-around is, so sometimes the gap is not as much. So it's just part of it. Do I like that there's a rhythm? No matter what it is, for sure. I think anybody wants a rhythm.
Right.
Is that possible when there's so much exposure involved? Who are you playing? When are they going to decide? Is it ESPN? The reason this game is on ESPN is because we beat Tennessee.
Right.
The reason why our game Saturday morning was on ESPN is because we beat Florida. It's owned by ESPN. That means ESPN. That means ESPN2, ESPNU, SEC Network. Based on how you're doing, based on the storylines, that's what dictates. Is Marty Smith in town as a sideline reporter, or is it the SEC Network? The bye has kind of changed the midweek games. There's only sometimes 2 games on Tuesday as opposed to 3. So we've played more Tuesday games this season than we did last season. That's because we went 15-3 last season. So if you play Tuesday and Saturday, that means you're off on Wednesday. If you play Wednesday, Saturday, you're off on Sunday. Last week, we played Vanderbilt on Tuesday. That's fine. On Saturday, we had played. The previous Wednesday, we had played. So we had worked 9 days in a row. When you have those transitions of Wednesday, Saturday, Tuesday, that's a lot on everybody, not Texas A&M, anybody in this league.
Thank you so much, Buzz.
Thank you, man.
Beat the hell out of Arkansas tomorrow. Thank you, Maurice Jones, the producer of the Buzz Williams Show, and our engineer here at Rudy's, Jeanette Menchow. For Buzz Williams, I'm Andrew Monaco. We'll see you tomorrow at 6. Aggies, Arkansas, Reed Arena, Aggie basketball from Learfield.